Uh, Pay close attention. I'm going to give you our starting lineups for the first game, all of our injuries from today. No. Let's open it up for questions.
Right here on the right, Zach.
Typically had older groups, more veteran-led teams going into fall camp. This year, obviously, a lot younger. I'm just curious if that impacted the energy level or anything what you saw today.
No, I don't think it did. Guys had good energy.
In the back, Matt.
This time last year, you said that so many guys were in the program, you could do more split reps across the board as you've ever done before. How has that changed? Or maybe with the continuity of guys just inexperienced, helped even more with that?
Well, I'd say it's still happening with several positions. There's even some new guys that are able to handle more. We're always going to push for guys that can handle more. I think we'll go back and review film and figure out what other guys we can work at multiple spots. So there's always going to be a balance of a combination of guys that are working at multiple spots and guys that need to refine where they're at.
Right here in the front left, James.
A couple of guys who had bigger roles before but were coming off injuries, but were part of spring, whether it's Jaleel or Saliapaga. Just what's it like seeing them back on the field and the progress that they were able to make throughout the summer to get to this point?
Yeah, good. Those guys have worked really hard. You see guys like Jaleel was really vocal today, was able to communicate. You always worry about a guy being removed from reps if they're going to be able to communicate and execute. He did a really good job of that today from what I saw. Obviously, I have to go watch the film, and then same with Roger. So glad to have both those guys back. Roger's going to be able to make a big impact on our team this year.
Back left, Olivia.
I know it's still day one, but have you seen any improvements from spring ball over to fall camp? And if so, what are those?
Yeah, probably a little too early. Today's more like knock the rust off, right? When you come back and you haven't practiced since spring. So I do think that there's a really clear understanding of what we're trying to execute. Guys are able to do drills the right way. I think a lot of that has to do with preparation of making sure that they're prepared for a moment when it comes. But ultimately, I think that this was, kind of two separate things, not a lot of necessarily growth moments from that spot to this.
On the right, you're out.
Yeah, I wanted to ask another question about Jalil. I think he said at Media Day that you and him had a meeting about he had to reprove himself, right? He'd been a starter before, but obviously didn't get to prove himself last year. I'm just wondering about the progress he's made over the offseason to work towards that goal to prove himself again.
Yeah, I think it's been a while since he's been healthy, right? And to see him out there running around healthy, able to communicate what we're doing, that's refreshing to see. So everybody's got to earn their spot every single day, right? Football, you ain't got a mortgage. It's more like paying rent. You got to pay rent every single day. So he's one of those guys. Did a good job today. Excited to see what it looks like.
All right, Zach.
You raved about before, but didn't get to see in the spring is Toby Hostrup. Just curious now that he's, I think, here and know it's been one practice, but what have you seen from him so far?
Yeah, I said to some of our coaches earlier, this guy's been well coached. You watch him on the backside of plays. We call it CBR, counter boot reverse, but being able to track on the backside and use proper technique. There's some of those things that are really showing up for Toby, and then there's some big growth moments, right? It's a lot of defense to unpack quickly, but he's a big, strong guy that cares, and that's half the battle is finding guys that care about the game. And he's got a lot of growth ahead of him. He hasn't played a ton of football, so this is all brand new, but excited that he's out there with us.
Front left, James.
Will Eastu be rehabbing in Miami all fall, and what can be inferred from his time away regarding his thoughts about the future? When will he be planning to come back?
When he's back.
All the way in the back, Matt.
How has the evaluation of the quarterbacks gone from spring and now going into camp? And I guess just what are you looking for? What are you going to be evaluating on between now and whenever you're ready to name that guy?
I bet you could answer that question for me, right?
You'll have to ask it.
Yeah. So don't turn the ball over, right? Move the ball down the field, be productive, execute the offense at a high level. Those are the things that we'll grade these guys on.
On the left, Jared.
You mentioned reviewing film in terms of what else a guy can carry on his workload. Just what other factors go into that outside of reviewing film? Like, is it personality? Is it the way they play? Like, what else goes into that?
Yeah, football intelligence, right? How well do they receive the information? How much does the information, does that position require, right? There's some positions that are harder to play when it comes to information than others. So, is it a spot that you can dual train because it doesn't require as much from a mental standpoint? That's another piece that adds on to that.
Right here on the left, James.
Obviously, a lot changing in the secondary from last season, not just in the starting lineup, but throughout. But even going back more than a year, Dan, can you speak to Chris's time holistically of the room he inherited and how much he's been able to put a stamp on that room, have a top 25 pass defense last year despite the lack of size, and now be in the position you are by way of length and depth there compared to the room that he inherited a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I don't brag on our coaches enough, but like Chris Hampton's going to be an outstanding head coach at some point. He does everything right within the program. He brings great energy every day. He's a great teacher. He recruits hard. He builds real relationships. He's been phenomenal for our team and our program. You know, him and Tosh work really, really well together, along with the rest of the defensive staff. And I could really say that about a lot of our coaches. But Chris has done a great job, and he's not satisfied.
On the right, Zach.
You had to go through it in spring, but I'm curious what you learned about the logistics of moving from 2 practice fields down to 1 practice field, and kind of how you've implemented that for this fall.
Yeah, still learning, right? It means drills are moved in different spots. It means that some of the drills are not, you don't have as much field space for, so you have to adapt and adjust the drills. But it's something that we can handle well.
Right here in front left, James.
When you're preparing for another fall camp and all the things the last couple of weeks in terms of traveling and media days and all that, how do you help oversee, I realize it's a whole recruiting staff, but to keep momentum going potentially into what could be a very big weekend for the program on the recruiting trail when you're also bringing a team back together to start preparation for a season?
Yeah, recruiting is not a sometimes thing. It's an everyday thing. It's like shaving. You got to do it every day. So even though I don't do that every day, but it's supposed to be like that.
All right, we're going back to the right here, Zach.
Would you consider yourself a deadhead, and do you have extensive knowledge of the Grateful Dead or past history listening to them?
A lot of respect for. Unfortunately, I wouldn't consider myself a deadhead. I'm a John Mayer fan, right? Isn't that their lead guy? I think he does some good stuff. But I've heard they're awesome to hear perform, and I saw a Wisconsin game. They'll be here, which is great for our fans. I think that'll be a great experience.
We'll go back here on the right.
How you doing, Coach? DeAndre Sanders, KVAL News. Quite a few of your players are receiving some preseason recognition. How much attention of that are you guys paying attention to at this point? In the year? Zero?
Yeah, I mean, it's great when people are recognized, but I don't think any of our guys sign up to win preseason awards.